You know what, Ben? I absolutely hate people that are on Facebook and Instagram that are fake. Do you see that often?
I see it way too often. You know, it's like people are constantly on vacation or something, or just living this dream fantasy life where everything's perfect, and just like, it's just so fake.
It's so fake, and it's not true, and it's Facebook fake. Do you guys hate that as listeners? We do too, and that is one of the reasons why we started Threads podcast, Life Unfiltered.
We're all about three main things: faith, mental health, and uncomfortable conversations. In short, it's the stuff you don't really see on social media.
Our conversations on Threads are going to be real, open, and raw. They might make you feel a little uncomfortable.
And that's what Threads is all about. We choose to focus on the threads that tie humanity together.
If this sounds interesting to you, you can find us on all the platforms, like everyone says, but we really want you to go to threadspodcast.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes. I'm going to start the show with a little current event, a little mental health current event. And those that are checking this out, this will be a little prompt to go to the YouTube deal, right? Because it's a little video. You'll hear it on the audio version of our show, but the YouTube will actually have the video clip that I'm going to use. So, Neil, go ahead and hit that. This is a mental health current event.
I want more compassion, in the next generation dealing with mental health. More love, more patience in understanding that mental health is everything. Right now, it's paramount to make mental health a priority. I mean, just look at the last year and a half we've been through. This is the moment for us to strive forward as humanity and be able to overcome the stigma around mental health.
I battled through the anxiety and the depression for about 3 years.
I would be fearful about things that I had no control over.
I've learned, various coping mechanisms to work on my mental health.
Throughout May, in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month, we'll bring you stories of several players from around the league who share their struggles and triumphs with their own mental health and share different ways we as players and legends enhance and prioritize our own mental wellness.
For a long time, I was only focused on staying physically strong. Your brain is a muscle too, and it's something that you really have to practice.
I think one thing that I've realized for myself, for my own mental health, is to create and prioritize a support system. There are people that I go to pretty immediately if something feels off or wrong, and I'm quick to talk about it.
It means the world to me to see NFL players be so vulnerable with their struggles from a mental health standpoint. It was always the mightiest of the mighties, right? The manly men. The fact that it's changing, the narrative is changing. When I first got into the National Football League, you would have never seen any pieces like this where guys are sharing some of this information. Now, you're seeing guys raise their hand and say, hey, I'm willing to share my story, because if my story can help somebody else out there, that's all that matters.
I think you can kind of kill it now. So this is Through a Therapist's Eyes. I am a mental health and substance abuse therapist. Have a book still out, Rediscovering, Re-Understanding Emotions, and Becoming Your Best Self. Neil, am I back to screwing that up, my own title? What am I doing? Jeez, get it together, Gazdick. This is where you see personal insights directly from a therapist in your own home or personal time in your car. We invite you to see the world through the lens of a therapist, but be aware it's not delivery of therapy services in any way. We thank you for listening because you make the show what it is. Really, you do. We've acquired listeners all around the world, and I really am saying thank you much more regularly now, realizing that, again, you make the show what it is, and we want to interact with you. So contact at throughatherapisteyes.com is the email, the best way to do that. You do need to leave your email for us to respond. And subscribe, and it helps a lot. Courtney, you're an author coach, and you're all in the author world. How important is it to get reviews on podcasts and reviews on Amazon and whatnot? You can speak to that.
Yes, I can. It's everything.
Yeah?
It is
Everything.
It's everything.
It's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've learned that. So it really, really helps. I know it takes a couple minutes, but those reviews make a big, big deal of difference for us. So finally, check out the website throughatherapist's.com. Courtney, this is the human emotional experience of which we endeavor to figure out together. Good with that?
I am great with that.
All right. So I had a lovely, wonderful, fantastic Sunday this last weekend.
And why is that?
Right? I had a tough week last week. I was feeling kind of under the weather. Still don't know what was hitting me, but something was hitting me. And it was going to be nothing but rest. And these people set up a 9:30 a.m. football game in England that they did overseas. And so I was able to watch football, the 9:30 game. My Steelers, which won, by the way, at 1 o'clock, followed by the 4 o'clock game, followed by the review of the day, followed by the 8 o'clock game, upon which I passed out and went to sleep at 10 p.m. It was glorious. It was an overdose of football. Loved it.
So you are saying you like football?
I do. I do enjoy watching the games. And for those of you that don't really enjoy football, right? Like, I started out the show today with, we do current events, you know, and I'm always looking around and seeing things that are kind of going on. And man, I was stunned. I was really loving it because they played that commercial several times through the day. Mm-hmm. And that's powerful, man, because football players do not talk about feelings and emotions and mental health, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Dare I say the male gender doesn't talk about it a whole lot.
Right.
So
it's gotten so much better. I'm still looking to kind of break into some of the chasms of the Hispanic population, but, you know, Asian and, you know, people are really, I'm seeing so many different variants in my office. Hispanic still kind of not so much because I don't know if it's the machismo or not a cultural expert and whatnot. But, dude, to see this in the NFL, like,
that's huge.
It's a big deal, and I mean, even like the guy said, you know, the brain's a muscle as well. You know, they work out and they're taught just to be tough and not let things bother them. You know,
I think in sports in general, it's been, you know, a can that's been open can of worms between, you know, through the Olympics and through professional tennis. I mean,
Simone Biles, if you're out there, I've had to reach out to talk to her.
Yeah. I mean, the examples are just coming out
of really
people taking care of themselves mentally, and it's awesome.
It really, really is. And I endeavor to wonder out loud if not the pandemic has brought a lot of that on. Because we've been struggling around the world. I mean, substance abuse being up, domestic violence being up, child abuse, anxiety, depression, divorce. I mean, it's across the board, man. People are having mental health stress and struggles. And so we're getting real about it, man. And so how about that for a current event? I hear and I applaud, you know, the mental health for doing this. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So check this out, man. What are we talking about today? Oh, parenting the teenager. We were saying before we started the show, Courtney, I don't know, how real should we be on this show, right? Have you thought about that one?
I've been thinking about it all day long.
Right.
All day long.
Now, in fairness, I'll be genuine, and you could say, as you've learned, this is the second time she's with us. Oh my gosh! By the way, you are who? Courtney Donaldson. What are you?
Yes.
Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you, and why are you here?
Yes. You know, I would love for you to answer that. No.
She is the awesomest editor ever. Anybody around the world can be helped by her editing services, and I am serious when I say that. You're awesome at what you do.
I appreciate that. Yes, I am an author, a ghostwriter, an editor, and a book coach. And I also own a girls' magazine where hopefully girls write about mental health in one of the categories that we publish. So
right?
Yes.
You're a magazine creator. You do so many cool things.
For early preteens and early teens, actually. So.
Yeah, it fits the show.
It fits the show.
Now, people might not know what ghostwriting is, and I think there's a lot of people out there that probably would be very interested in that. I know it can be probably a little expensive, but it's an investment in telling your story. Like, you're amazing and at the ability to really get somebody's voice. I've heard you talk about it. I'm going to talk you up about this. Like, getting somebody's voice and getting to interview somebody and learning about them so compassionately to connect with them, so much so that you'll like literally ghostwriting is writing their story for them, right?
Yes, and hopefully in their voice. So I spend enough time talking with them, watching body language, listening to the inflection of their voice, how they say things, and I want their book to be their book. Their name is on it as the author. It's their story. I just help them write it, and then I disappear.
Do you know how that's how I found you?
Is it?
It is. It absolutely is. You did a little Facebook thing or whatever, and
Yes.
yep, I popped on. I was like, oh, Kim, I know Kim. What's up?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And at the time, I was skimping on the editing, which I learned is not the way to go.
Don't do it.
No, it's
Don't do it.
not a good idea. I struggled with that for a little while. Believe me, I wasn't trying to edit my own, but I had some people helping me, and I found you that way. So it
Great.
worked. I'm so glad
Great
you
for
made that video.
Facebook Live.
Yes, it was cool. So, okay, let's launch in. So I did something that I thought was cool. This actually literally came from a client. So my older kid was sitting at the table, and we were celebrating his birthday. It was his 13th birthday. And this lady told me that this is what she did actually with her brother. She said these very same things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Like, I am going to do this with my kids. So when my older kid, he's 19 now, and my younger one is 16, and you could say anything you want to and not want to, but you know, your kids are...
Yes, I have a 16-year-old as well and a 12-year-old.
Yeah. So we're sitting there having his birthday, and I looked at him and said, buddy, Aaron, I love you, and I just am really glad that we're celebrating your birthday together. It's your 13th birthday. That's a big deal. And I said, you know what? I love you, and I'm going to see you in about 6 years. He just looked at me like, what does that mean? Like,
where are you going?
Right? I mean, look at his mom like, I don't understand. You know? And so my younger one came and turned 13, and I did the exact same thing. And I think they still to this day have no idea what I'm talking
Oh, really?
about.
Oh, they don't? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they probably forgot it.
Yeah.
But on his 20th, oh my gosh. In October, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I need to have a bookend with that conversation.
Yes, you do. You need to finish that.
I did not even realize that till this moment.
Oh, wow.
I am going to bookend that with him
Yep.
on the 20th.
An eye-opening conversation.
Wow. It's all real, right? Like, this is real, and I don't mind being genuine on the show and talking about things. Like, there is so much that you deal with in being a parent. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. I wouldn't change it for a minute, but it is really true that it takes a lot out of you. It's a big commitment, and there's a lot going on, and when you're trying to parent teenagers, I mean, people make jokes, they talk, they have fun with it.
Yeah.
Comedians go to town, but it is real when we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's very real. But I agree with you on the fact that so many people joke about it, and sometimes that bothers me.
Yeah.
Because teenagers are listening.
Right.
And, you know, what does that say? You know, they're taking then that information and they're storing it and they're maybe reacting to it. So...
I think you're right. Dang.
So no jokes.
Now it's going to bother me. I think, no, they are listening, and it's tougher on them. I think that we forget that, but it is tougher on them than it is with us for sure, because they're the ones going through it. And
Right.
I think that you're right. We make jokes and we minimize that, and but that's the truth. And so yeah, be careful out there because they are listening, and we're also believing it.
Right.
You know, this can be a beautiful time of life.
Absolutely.
Lots of cool things are going on, lots of neat development, and understanding what's happening with your kid, I think is where we need to start.
Sounds good.
That was a good transition.
Let's do
right?
it. Yeah, it's perfect.
Right. Because you really do have to be aware of the developmental factors. And so let's start there with the definitions and development and whatnot, right? So what is normal is what I was really thinking about when I was thinking about what are teenagers, what is going on. Now, I'm not going to bore you with Psych 101 and developmental tasks and this kind of thing. I'm not doing that. But I think there's really a lot of fundamental questions when I was thinking about what is a teenager and what the heck is going on. What's normal? Like, have you ever asked yourself, right? Like, my kid did this. Is that normal? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, because you don't want to, you want to make sure that you're not the only one going through this. You want to make sure that, you're not screwing anything up.
And all the way through parenting, I will tell you, the coolest conversations I had on the sidelines of the baseball games and the soccer and all this, it's like, oh my God, your kids won't pick up anything either. Like, oh my God, no, the room is disgusting. Oh, I just thought the room was that bad. It's disgusting too. Like, you can't see my kid's floor. They're like, oh, of course you can't see their kid's floor. And I'm like, okay, I'm not alone
Exactly.
in what I'm observing, and this is normal.
And it's temporary, right? Hopefully.
Oh,
a season. I
thank
don't
you
know
for
how
that.
long the season is, but it's a season.
Doesn't feel like it's temporary when you're in the middle of it.
That's true.
I literally, my heart reacted when you said that. Like, oh, she's right. But you forget that.
Right.
And I've been in this a long time.
Yeah, you have.
9 years, essentially, a whole decade almost. And you forget, and I'm coming out of it. 19 and 16. But it is, you're right. You're totally right. It's temporary. Thank you for that personally. So Psychology Today had a cool thing. I thought that was cool the way that they layered this out. It's just transitional stage from childhood to adulthood.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple and simplistic to think about, and I thought that's really kind of cool. And I also thought it was neat with the way they said, physical and psychological changes that take place in adolescence often start earlier during the preteen or tween years. So you really kind of start getting into a lot of this at age 9 and 10. Maybe for boys, 10, 11, for girls 9, 10. And it's happening quicker. That's a real science fact.
Yes, absolutely.
She says yes.
Yes,
Did
I
you hear
have
the
a
voice
12-year-old.
intonation?
Yes. It was early.
It really is. I mean, my neighbor had their daughter. It was like shocking at age 10. I'm like, what is happening to you? Like, what's happening to you? It's not supposed to happen yet.
Yeah.
And my boys got so big so quickly
Yeah.
in middle school. I'll mention that later on, how, they looked all grown up, but they're not yet. They're really, really not yet.
Yeah.
That's
The body
where-
has to catch up with everything else, right?
Yeah,
Or
well, the
everything else
brain.
has to catch up with the body. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So there is something that to point out developmentally, without getting too particular, the egocentrism. That's a big word,
That is a big word.
right?
Help me with that.
What does that mean to you? I was going to throw that to you.
No, you can't do that.
I can't.
You're the professional.
I do that to people all the time.
Don't do that.
Okay. It was fun when Casey turned it around and did it to me. I said, don't do that to me. Okay. Egocentrism is really a big deal. It's just really like, they focus on themselves. And here's a key with this. They believe everyone else, from their best friend to a distant crush, is also focused on them. Like they are feeling spotlighted. There's a condition called social phobia. Social phobia is what we call it. Social anxiety disorder is what we used to call it. That's what I was getting tripped up on there. Well, that's where you really avoid groups. You struggle meeting new people. There's a fear that people are watching you and looking at you. Like, that's actually a normal experience in adolescentum.
Interesting.
Right. They're so consumed with body image and body odor and deodorant and oh my gosh, and they actually start taking showers. If you're listening to this and your middle schooler is there, they do start to clean up. You know what's funny? We're gonna have a lot of fun, I think, with this.
Here we go.
People told me, Aaron, I'm so sorry in advance, buddy, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it. So people told me that, wow, you know what happens, Courtney, when they start getting interested in girls, they start figuring this stuff out and, they start caring a little bit more. I never got that. Never got that. I love telling this. I don't think Aaron would care. That's why I'm willing to share it. But he has said, like, I asked him, I was like, dude, he might have been a sophomore or freshman. I don't know. I was like, dude, you ever think about dating? Like, what's up with the girls? Whatever. He's like, Dad.
With the eye roll.
With the his whole body was like into it. He's like, Dad, you have to spend money on them and you have to talk to them.
Oh,
Like,
well.
I it's okay, Dad. I'm good. I'm like, okay, I can't argue with it. I couldn't say anything.
Yeah. Some people don't want that kind of drama. I don't know.
Well, he was. I admire him for that. You
Yeah.
know, he wanted to really be with his buddies. He was wanting to be.
That's great.
His own thing. Yeah. It worked. It's worked out really, really good for him. I mean, I think that's that because kids feel a lot of pressure. I'm supposed to date. I'm supposed to get.
Oh,
this and do that. I'm
absolutely.
supposed to,
Yeah.
and they have to write their own path. So relationships with family members often take a back seat to peer groups, romantic interests, and appearance. With teens, they perceive as increasingly important these types of things. And I think, right from the get-go, we see with what's really normal with kids, and I don't think that's groundbreaking for any parent. They see the kid in the room all the time, but they wonder, like, is that depression?
Yeah. Yeah, why are they up in their room with the door closed? And
all the substance abuse people always tell me if their personality changes, if they start isolating,
but
what
they all do that.
Right.
My teenager goes outside to have phone conversations, even in the dark at 10 o'clock at night. He's outside walking around. And
what are you doing? None.
Privacy.
Yeah, privacy. Yeah. So this is, again, what is normal, and I think this is kind of a really normal component.
I like to mention that for parenting, I mean, is there a grieving process at that point that parents have to go through? I mean, all of a sudden we've brought these children into the world, or we brought them home through adoption, or however it happens, and they're growing up, they're toddlers, that we have to send them to school, and then all of a sudden they enter this stage, the teenage years.
I love this co-host, Neil. She creates an entire new segment.
Yeah, that wasn't on your notes. Sorry.
I love it. No, don't apologize. That's perfect. Because you couldn't be more right, and it should be on my thought process with this, because it is a huge grieving process. I've been grieving this for a little while. I mean, terribly sad. Like, my little guy, he's been my movie buddy. Mm-hmm. He's always been my movie buddy.
Right.
And I even looked at him a few years ago. I'm sure that he doesn't remember this, but I'm like, dude, you're gonna remember. You're always gonna be my movie buddy, right? And he's like, Dad, oh yeah,
of course.
I'll always be your movie buddy, of course. I ain't watched a movie with Adam in like 3 years. It's and that's seriously sad for me, because that is a thing that we did, and he's just not. I don't know. He watched Squid Games with me the other day. Have you heard this?
I have
not.
Know
what this is?
No, I don't know what it is.
It's a terrible show. It's very...
Okay, I'll stay away from it.
It's wicked. Let's just say it has a lot of death in it. It kind of popped my curiosity, but to your point, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of transition. They are not little kiddies anymore. They are growing up in a big way, dramatically fast when they hit that 8th grade, boy. Mm-hmm. And they're small again when they hit the 9th grade. And by the time they hit the end of their 10th grade sophomore year or whatever, they're like beards and...
Yeah.
I mean...
I know. Yeah.
Right? My 19-year-old's going for his first beard right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, God, what is the deal, Or, here's another one for a dad, right? I'm going to teach you how to shave. Like, what am I doing right now, right?
Yeah. We're never prepared. I don't know that you can be prepared.
No. It is, and DW said something today that we were actually talking about this at lunch in the office, and her kids are grown up and gone. She's empty nested totally. Her older son just got married, and she's just enjoy the moment. Mindfulness we just talked about recently. Mm-hmm. Just be in the moment, enjoy those experiences. And, I've honestly, myself through my life, I've done that. Like when I graduated, I just went by myself and just looked around and scanned and breathed it in and just was in it. I don't know if it's because I've been stressed, but I haven't done that as much. And so I want to serve as a reminder, with your relationship and parenting, it is grief, it is loss. Be mindful and enjoy it for what it is, even when you're frustrated and tired and like, oh my gosh, it's a moment, right?
Right.
It's an important moment.
And I think that grief speaks to how much you care for your child and how much you love your child too. So just a perspective change of, I'm grieving because I love them. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is important to be able to do that. So we're going to go with some tips at the end and talk about how to kind of deal with some ideas and brainstorming that I did, but that we're still in this, what is normal. And I really struggled with this one. Mm-hmm. There's something that I want to cover, and I must confess too. So you both boys for you?
No, one boy, one girl.
Yeah, the younger one's a girl, right?
Yes.
Older one's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
So Tier, I always wanted a girl, and I never going to have a girl. People have always told me, Chris. Go ahead, tell me, Courtney.
They're very different. That's all I'm going to say.
I've been told I'm fortunate. Now, I don't think that is
No, I don't think
bad
that's
about
accurate. No.
Yeah, because it's very different.
It's just very different.
And so I've parented 2 boys,
Mhm.
and I just haven't experienced a lot of the girl side of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to own that from this point. In fact, if you have girl stuff, please, you are a woman, so you've parented a girl, so I would value that. Because I don't think this is different for girls. And actually a client was talking about this with me. I'm going to credit him as AS, Mr. AS out there. He helped me understand the back end of this. But the front end of this is it normal? And I think I'm going to answer my own question that pretty inevitably, at some point, Dad, okay, the kid, the boy, is going to front you.
Okay.
They're going to front you. They're going to challenge something.
Mm-hmm.
They're all grown up. They know what's right. They know what's wrong. And they know better than you, so to speak, right now. And there's going to come a time where it's going to be real edgy. And they're big. And it's a challenge. And so I was really struggling with this to figure out, is this normal? And I've thought about it and talked with people. You know, Casey, the other co-host, she talked about, you know, her family with her dad and her son. I mean, it got real edgy. DW talked about it with her son and her husband. It was like, wow. I mean, they were, you know, there were situations with my mom, okay, single parents out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're a mom raising, you know, I think particularly boys, it got real dicey with my mom and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared, and I was a rule follower, so I didn't give her too much of a buck up because I saw what happened, and I didn't really have to do that, right? So, you know, and I've had this with my kids. So I have found that there is a major physical challenge at some point coming, and I don't want parents to freak out about that. I don't want parents to be surprised by that either.
Mm-hmm.
And how you deal with that is also really important. Does this make any sense? What's your brain doing? I'm curious.
It makes a lot of sense in the fact that, I mean, as these teenage boys are growing into adulthood, manhood, I mean, there's some level of, you know, identity as far as leadership, as far as power, as far as strength, those types of things, I'm sure. And just to understand the dynamics of the relationship within the family when you have this almost adult who is independent with his thinking, his opinions, his hobbies, everything, that I could see how it might come to a head.
Yeah. In a serious way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, potentially violent way. I mean, when I say edgy, I'm talking about all that. So AS helped me understand that really it kind of seems like girls do this with their moms, though.
They do. I was sitting here thinking that too.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah. Can you speak to that?
You know, it's called a different thing, and I don't know why, but you know, they're sassy or they're, you know, dramatic or things like that. But they do. They push. I think they want to push the boundaries. They want to see, you know, are you going to control me my whole life, or am I going to be able to step out and be my own person at some point? I don't. My experience, it's not a physical thing. It's more of a battle of the wills, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. It's more emotional with girls.
Yeah.
And more, yeah, it is. It's thought of differently. But honestly, I'm going to submit to you that it really comes from the same place.
Oh.
What you just elegantly spoke to. You know, can you control me?
Mm-hmm.
And here's a very important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan this either, but it comes to my mind. They need to know that you're big enough emotionally, particularly, to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
They got to know that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. Yeah. Metaphor. When you're driving on vacation and you go up a big old mountain road, you been on a mountain road before?
I have.
Those big, windy mountain roads. They ain't got no guardrails over there. What are you looking at when you're going up this road?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're looking right off the cliff. That's what's happening. That's what you're experiencing. And it is scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so when there's a guardrail on that road, It is comforting. It is guiding. It is, I know that I have this safety in place and I can continue moving forward in my independent search and whatnot. So this is actually for all of parenting. I'll actually take kids when I'm doing family therapy and I'll say, Mom and Dad, link arms.
Yeah.
And they will link arms. And why is my phone doing this? I pushed the wrong button to make it go away. Jeez. Sorry about that. Link arms. And then we'll get the little kids to like go and play like a little Red Rover kind of thing. And we'll link arms like this first. And of course they can break it.
Right.
A little bit tougher. Solid.
Yeah.
And you can't see this on the video, but you'll see my hands change position to stronger grasps between the parents, and the kids have fun, but they can't break it when you really get it set up. And I'll calm the kid down, and I'll make the points that I just made with that metaphor. So when this is going on, when you're getting that sassy, when you're getting that grumpy, when you're getting that physical threat, understand what's going on. And yes, that's normal. Because I know I really struggled with that one.
Yeah.
I was like, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to have to put this kid down?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the questions you kind of get. Like,
Yeah.
it's scary, too.
I can imagine.
And you really have to facilitate your own emotions.
Which is so hard.
Very. I mean, I'm thinking of a direct moment where I really had to straight face, arms in a protection space. You're not going to hurt me. And thankfully, we never came to blows, but it was close. And we're in a great space now. But it was edgy.
Yeah.
And that's normal. So let's go on with that. But I thought that was a big thing. And, playing off from that, there's lots of questions. I'm going to make a bold statement. When you're parenting a teenager, corporal punishment has no place.
Oh, no, absolutely
If anybody's
not.
got doubts, yeah, go ahead. No, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. No, none. None.
Yeah. Corporal punishment has its place, but here's the thing. When somebody becomes able to have cognition, spankings and all this kind of thing, it drives me nuts. Get control of your kid and spank them. Okay. Listen. When a kid develops cognition, that means they can think through stuff, abstract reasoning ability in the frontal cortex. It becomes less and less and less appropriate as the kid gets older. And by the time they're in their 9, 10, 11-year-old, they can think through some stuff seriously.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Some kids are still getting spanked at 15, 16 years old. Can you imagine?
I would, isn't that abuse to me? That on some level, I mean,
it's not helpful at very best.
Yeah.
Abuse,
or I would think
if
healthy.
You're
Yeah.
still swatting on the butt and the kid is able to tolerate that and whatever. No, you're asking for problems.
Yeah.
With that kid.
Yeah.
You're just asking for problems. Age 3, 5, even 6 or whatever, you're going out in the middle of the road, boom. Hey,
right, for safety. Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
getting like the knowledge.
Yeah. Danger.
They're getting the knowledge, right? And
Right.
and they can't cognitively go through that knowledge conversation with you. So it definitely has its place, but the older a kid gets, not so helpful.
I think you lose the component of communication, respect. I mean, everyone has certain relational and emotional needs, right? And so if a kid can't feel safe, once they reach that point of cognition
Right.
that you're talking about, and they can't feel safe to either make mistakes or even to rebel in some way and still remain secure in either the relationship or physically safe, I think you've lost them.
Lost is a good word. Lost is a strong word.
It is.
But that's a good word. I support that. Because you're not really going through any problem solving. You're
Right.
not going through any teaching at that point. You're really just going through control
Right.
and dominance and, these types of things that you don't want to be.
And then that's what they're
supporting.
learning, right? That's how they learn to respond or react to situations in their own life as they get older.
Right. So there's another important change that also I wanted to point out. Again, is this normal? Kids, latency, is that what the word is? I'll dumb it down to for my own brain. We learned with Dr. Stafford, episode 32 and 33, he hung out with us and he did help us that it is very normal that kids go to sleep late. If you still got your 11, 12, 13-year-old on like a 8, 9 o'clock bedtime kind of thing, be careful here. yo.
Mm-hmm.
See, I got little kids
Yo.
speak. Yo. I'm cool. Kids make fun of me in my office like, Chris,
Yeah.
you can't say that.
Yeah.
So 90s.
I was going to jump in
Yeah.
with, so there's a specific situation or maybe a handful of situations. So for, physical reasons or like our daughter's 12.
Yep.
If she doesn't go to bed earlier than a normal, typical time for that age, she gets migraines. So like you're saying, what's normal? And I'm constantly having to filter, okay, is this normal for the age? Is it normal for, both of my children were adopted. Is it normal for that? Is it normal for the special needs that they're struggling with, for the diagnoses and physical needs that they have? Medical, thank you. So I'm constantly filtering, but having at least the developmental knowledge and background to start with is very helpful.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. He taught us on that show how essentially teenagers enter into a stage where they have a late onset sleep cycle. Why we start school at 8 o'clock in the morning with kids drives me freaking nuts.
It drives our family nuts
They're
too.
biologically not geared that way. It's like taking a 70-year-old and saying, we're not going to eat dinner until 7 o'clock and go to bed at 11:30. Why are you going to bed at 8?
Right.
Because as you get older, you have an early onset of sleep. Like through the life cycle, it changes. We're all in the sweet spot where, life is supposed to work, go to bed at 10 or whatever and wake up at 7 or 8. It's an average onset of melatonin drops in your body. And I said it that way on purpose, right? Teenagers don't get that melatonin drop.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was just them wanting to be independent.
Right. It is not.
And make their own choices about when to go to bed.
Their body is saying, you're wired.
I'm not tired.
I'm not tired. And so be careful about that and understand kind of what's going on. They stay up late because their bodies are supposed to. Now, I ain't talking about video games till 5 o'clock in the morning, Johnny.
That's right.
All right. That's a little different.
A little different.
But kids will get into that cycle and then they don't understand what's going on. I'm supposed to be tired at 10 o'clock while I'm playing my video game. I'm not tired till 2. And then stretch it and stretch it and stretch it and play around to where they get into poor sleep cycles.
Right.
So sleep is really, really important. Understand, though, that those changes are normal. It's just part of what is happening for them. No one told us. We didn't know.
I didn't know. Thank you.
So let me go into any time we talk about parenting. Here is a different segment that I love. It's a part of the trifecta. Courtney, have you ever heard anything about love and logic?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Awesome.
Yes.
Tell me what you know.
What I know, well, correct me if I'm wrong. No, so to me, what I understand is it's loving your child by having clear expectations and giving them choices, as long as those choices fall within the boundary that you're comfortable with, and having natural consequences for choices.
Right. Okay. I'm really curious how you came across love and logic.
My best friend is a counselor.
Oh, got you.
Shout out to Dana.
Hey, Dana. Yeah. So I was enthralled, and we did a whole show. Neil, can you look that up? We did a whole show on love and logic, and I forgot to look that up. And I want to refer you to that episode because I went to a lot of CEU trainings, and I don't like CEU trainings as much anymore. I know it sounds arrogant, it's terrible, but I just don't pick up as much as I used to. So I usually get a nugget or two. It's kind of cool. I love learning. But, dude, I went to a love and logic training, and I was on point the whole, all 8 hours of that training.
It makes sense to me.
It's beautiful. It's an awesome way to go about understanding your parent-child relationship. So this is part of what I call the trifecta in my mind. Financial Peace University for financial and marital budgeting issues, A. B, part of the trifecta is emotion-focused therapy for marriages and close attachments, okay? And this is on point and on par with those guys. This is Love and Logic, the parent-child relationship. Do you have that episode? Okay, the episode is 15. We did it very early on for a reason.
Long time ago.
Right? So episode 15 will take a deep dive into this, but here's the short. Okay? It's a logical phrase. Craig freaked out with his first part of this phrase when we went to it. Yeah, he was like, I don't understand that at all. but I think he gets it now, and we've talked about it through our show several times, or at least it's come up a few times. Well, it comes up every time I do parenting because I think it's that important.
Right.
So you're talking to your kid, little Johnny, you can do whatever you want to do. What? Craig couldn't handle that one. Love you, Craig. Johnny, you can do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't cause a problem for somebody else. All right, there's the catch, right? This is the logical stream. Johnny, you can do anything that you want to do as long as you don't cause a problem for somebody else. Parents' job is, Johnny, looky there. There's a problem.
Caused a problem.
Right? Johnny might say, oh, there's no problem. There's no problem. Well, you got an opportunity to fix your problem. So, Johnny, you can do anything that you want to do as long as it doesn't cause a problem for somebody else. I see that there's a problem there. Oh, no problem. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of that problem. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. The day is done. There's no direct confrontation. You're not triggering, a keyword power struggle.
Right.
But make no mistake about it. The thoughts you had about love and logic are perfect and on point. This is a low power struggle, high structure scenario where the parent's in charge and you're managing the relationship between you and your child to give life lessons to them. And so the difficult part is on the back end. You come in on the back end, and sometimes you have to create consequences or various things that go on. And consequences go way beyond just privilege loss, right? You find ways to demonstrate this is not going to keep going on. This will stop.
All right, I have a question. So you say if there's a problem or it creates a problem for somebody.
Yep.
That includes the child, right? But are they able to understand that they've created a problem for themselves?
So that's a good question. It's a really good thought. Natural consequences is a big part of what I can ascertain from love and logic strategies.
Right.
So if it creates a problem for nobody else in the world and only them, okay, not a problem.
So then it just plays out the way
plays
they...
out.
Yeah.
They got hurt.
Yeah.
They got to skin their knee and figure out what they did so that they don't do it again. And that
is so hard to do.
It is, it's painstaking.
It is so, and I'll tell you why it's hard for me is because, and I'm sure there are a lot of listeners out there like me, I hope, that, you're looking to do your best. And so when you see a child not aiming for his or her best,
right,
and knowing that they have the capacity and the capability and the skill and everything else they need to do their best, it is so hard to be hands-off and let natural consequences play out.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. It's one of the things I struggle with the most.
Yeah.
I join you with that. It absolutely is. But it's important. I mean, you learn the most when you hurt the most. That's a true statement. No pain, no gain. And kids really have to go through some stuff sometimes. But here's a little bit of a catch to take us out of that. Usually when they're doing something, there's going to be causing a problem for somebody else. There's not really a whole lot of those, particularly when you target a behavior or something that's going on. There's going to be creation of problems for somebody else. And so you could do anything that you want to do as long as you don't cause a problem for somebody else. I see that there's a problem. You need to fix that problem. I see that you didn't fix that problem. No problem. I'll take care of that problem. Now, you come back in and around. So you just don't clean up those dishes. You don't clean up those wrappers. Well, I just didn't want to put them all together. I didn't want to clean them, so I just gave them to you because you dirtied them. And so I know you got into your bed late at night and you found all these wrappers in your blankets. Bummer. That's really tough. But that's a creative solution. Right. You dirtied this crap. I'm just putting it back to you.
Right.
So you have to take care of those dishes. Otherwise, you're going to find them.
Right. In your bed. All right.
I'm
writing that one down.
Right? Yeah. Your doors come off hinges.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I had one particular one that, what was it, Neil? 15. Okay, that we went more in depth with, and I think I shared this on that show. It was pretty vulnerable, and I wanted to be careful with my son's privacy and stuff. But we had one that I may have shared in that show. This was over the course of like a month or two, right? That we had to go through and deal with it. Yeah, I am sure that I shared it because I did the same thing then that I just did now. I can't say that and not give a little bit of precipice. He basically wanted to change his bedroom and take the bonus room as his bedroom. Made a decision he was going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Right, on his own. Like, bro, no. Mom and dad make the decisions in this house. Again, this is a high structure but low power struggle environment that you're creating. So what kind of power struggles could you see when a kid decides to take all the furniture out of the bonus room, take his furniture, put it in the bonus room, and now you're going to go, right?
So what happened?
Well, I'm not going to go too far into it, but it challenged me. Everything that I could think of in my brain to kind of go about it. I mean, you know.
Yeah. You have to be creative, I think.
You really do, and that's the biggest challenge, I think, here. But, you know, Love and Logic has a lot of compassion built into this.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking about parenting a teenager. All right? This is a very difficult time in their life. And if you can't have compassion for somebody who's going through a period of time that's the most difficult in their life, what's wrong?
Right.
Right? So there's a lot of compassion and a lot of caring. Like, buddy, those grades are terrible. That must be horrible for you to look at that. I mean, you're looking at a D, man. Are you okay? And when you start switching this around, by the way, the kids are going to look at you like there's something wrong. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why aren't you yelling at me?
Right.
But there's compassion in that. That really does suck to get a D on your report card.
Yeah, in our house, we're not successful by any measure, but our goal...
Every now and again, you might have a moment.
Every now and again we are, but our goal is to ask questions instead of give commands or give directions. So we'll say, what are you going to do about that?
Yep.
And then zip it.
Yep. How's it going to work out? What do you expect
The hard part
next?
for me is zipping it, honestly. But
we're talkative people, you and I.
We have our opinions.
Yes, they tend to fly out way too much. Sorry, Lisa.
But what are you going to do about that? And
those are, and I can tell you've gotten the Love and Logic kind of stuff ingrained because that is a lot of what they talk about. Get curious. You know, I'm curious.
Ask
What are you thinking about that?
How's your heart?
And mean it though too.
And mean it.
And mean it. Like, how is your heart with that? That's a tough spot. So anyway, you know, we had you know, you had to pay for the heat when he was going in the room. You know, the TV is a family TV, so it got gone. You know, it was crazy. I mean, we did a lot of things. Yep. Aaron may listen to this. Dude, I actually opened up the window to make it quite cold in there one night.
All the tricks.
I did, but it worked.
Yeah.
And he understood that this is not something that he can just run over the parents in the home and do what he wants to do. That ain't going to happen. So it's a high structure, low power struggle, Love and Logic. Dig into it. We don't have enough time to go into it more today, but that will be an absolutely huge part of parenting your teenager. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, we got to fly a little bit. I've been too bogged down a little bit in this. It's good stuff, I hope. But so here's my own thing. This was actually in the title. And I took it out of the title, of course, because people were like, X-ray goggles? What? Here's a little segment on X-ray goggles.
Okay.
A parent needs to develop what I believe and call X-ray goggles, meaning you have got to see through a lot of the crap that you see with your kids and their attitude, their sassiness. I mean, the girl is screaming at the top of her lungs. Are you going to be able to put your goggles on and see through this nonsense?
So I'm going to relate something that we learned in our marriage encouraging class. And that is, because it relates to parenting.
Okay.
And it is, instead of reacting to the behavior, minister to the pain behind it.
Did you say that before?
Yes.
That is a takeaway.
It is a takeaway for parenting, too.
So what is it?
So it is, instead of reacting to the behavior, minister to the pain underneath. And so it's in parenting, when I'm looking at my teenagers and they're, you know, exploding or they're slamming doors or they're rolling their eyes or they're talking back, whatever it is, I have to try to take a breath and say, okay, where is this coming from? What are the feelings involved? Where did it stem from? You know, let's communicate more and let's ask those questions.
Yeah, that is beautifully said, you know, because there's pain underneath a lot of this, you know.
Or loneliness or rejection or fear, yeah.
Fear drives a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fear drives my parenting, Chris.
Yeah, it does me too. You know, you parent out of guilt, you parent out of shame, you parent out of fear, you parent out of worry, and you're screwed each of those 4 times.
Yes.
Let me say that again. You tend to parent out of fear, you parent out of shame, you parent out of guilt, you parent out of worry, and you tend to be screwed when you're doing that.
Yeah,
I've
it's
been there.
true. It's true.
I've been there many times with all 4 of those, by the way.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm terrified with some things with
Yeah.
my kids, and I actually had a conversation with my son about that recently. Buddy, I'm afraid of this and that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he got it.
So X-ray goggles.
X-ray goggles. You got to see through stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just be in that moment sucking in what you're seeing, because that's not the real deal. Like, I love the way you put it. You got to minister to the pain. You got to be a little bit more forthsightedness and see through where they're going. It's kind of like that, so people are probably parenting their teens now listening to this show. Remember when a little kid was throwing a tantrum? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Tantrums. When you're in the middle of a tantrum as a parent, you're like, oh my God, I got to take care of this. I got to do something. I got to make it right. Now, what do we now know?
No, just let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Scream,
One of our children, I won't say which one, was having a tantrum, threw themselves on the floor. My husband and I looked at them, left and walked to another room. They stopped, stood up, walked over to our room, threw themselves back on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, we had to laugh.
Yeah, because now they're 3 years old, they're
Right.
4 years old, and now you're parenting your teenager, and you can see like, oh my gosh, that was so easy.
That was easy.
Right? You have to see through it. It's easy now because you can see what you didn't see when you were in that moment.
Right.
Because I've had parents struggle hard with tantrums, and they just feed into it and feed into it and feed into it. It's like, it'll just keep on going. I had a kid like laying on my floor leaving the office one day. The parent literally, it was so sad. After it was done, I was like, oh my gosh. Literally dragged the kid out of my office because the session's over. We got to go. I'm like, oh man. Yeah, it's tough. So when you develop the ability to have X-ray goggles, which is essentially a skill to see through the behavior, which can be loud, right? You remain in the love and logic fashion of calm and emotionless. Wise mind, they call it in DBT work. Mindfulness, we talk about, from time to time in mental health world. Like, love and logic people are not wired into the moment emotionally. They are grounded and set in themselves. They're managing their own emotion. They're not fearful, if you will. And I join you. I get fearful too. But when you're in a good space, you're not fearful. It's okay. You're not doing it wrong. It's no shame.
It's normal behavior, right?
It's normal. Yeah, absolutely. So developing X-ray goggles also helps you to understand that a lot of this behavior is based out of those emotions, and not the egomaniac that it seems like this kid is developing. So foresight, see through it, have the bigger picture in mind. Would you say this is temporary?
This is temporary.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I'm still in the middle of it. Please tell
I
me
know,
it's temporary now.
I told you. You caught my heart when you said that. I was like, oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So a big factor of something that I learned from teachers. All you teachers out there, thank you for what you do.
It's a hard job.
They have a hard job.
Especially now.
I learned from the kindergarten teacher, and I learned from the middle school principal. 2 very specific things that I think apply to teenagers.
Great.
So the kindergarten teacher taught me, listen, they're going to come home and they're going to tell you some things, about what they had happen at school, and I just want you to take that with a grain of salt. And the fact of the matter is they're going to tell me things about you and what goes on in your home, and I want you to know I'm going to interpret that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Right?
Very wise, yes.
I thought so. But when I was parenting my kindergarten, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Middle school teacher taught me, Chris, your kid is big. He's tall. He's grown up. And we see this big body. And we interpret, we believe, we perceive that what's inside matches what's on the outside. I mean, his feet were huge, Cortney.
Yeah.
In middle school.
Yeah.
It was insane. So tall, so big, so not grown up.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate to that. And I think for parents out there whose kids have some neurodiversity, like ADHD, things like that, I think, what is it? They're like 2/3 emotionally 2/3 of their chronological age. So you think that
Yeah.
big body and then even less of the emotional component maturity at that age.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this, and again, it's the same for teenagers. So the teenager's a little bit more sophisticated, but we would be well served to realize honestly that what we're hearing from this keyword child is still just from a child. The perceptions are not fully developed, right? So I really appreciated this from the middle school principal and kindergarten teacher to prepare me for parenting the teenagers. Because listen, the reality is the brain is not developed, I'm just going to say, until the age of 25. Girls are a little bit different. Their brains develop a little quicker. So at about the age 21, 22, they're pretty fully developed with their brain. Boys, 22, 23, maybe 24, they're fully developed with their brain, finally.
Wow.
And my kid is 19 years old, driving, working an adult job, kicking butt in the world, making good money right now, honestly.
Yeah. And still developing.
He ain't done cooking. Still, I need to remember what that middle school principal said to me.
Yeah.
Because he's not fully matured yet. And then what you got to realize, what I add with my own thoughts is when that brain is fully matured, they ain't used to using it.
That's right.
Right?
Right. They need a class.
What to do with your matured brain.
Right.
Be a great class.
No, that's true. I mean, I remember in my early 20s, my first job out of college, I'm slamming doors because I'm mad at my manager, you know? I mean, come on.
Right. You can't do that.
Can't do that.
I went back to WVU and had dinner for a football game. It's been years ago now, but I looked around and I just looked at these people. Because when I was in college, man, I mean, come on. I'm in college, man. I've arrived. I'm myself. I am grown. I'm totally independent. I don't have to answer to anybody. And they were kids, Courtney. They were little itty bitty babies in college. I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So we have got to realize that, because this has massive implications on the way that you're going to interact with this person. You are not on an equal level. They cannot follow your thinking.
Right.
That's
not their fault.
It's not their fault.
Right.
Like, their abstract reasoning ability is better than it was when they were, 8.
Right.
They grew up and their body looked big when they were 12. They started growing hair and beards when they were 15 again. But they're still 7 years away. 7 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. It's a lot that's going to go on. And so you got to realize mentally, what you're dealing with. You cannot talk to them as an equal. You cannot expect them to be on that level. And yet I do.
Oh, well, yeah, so many parents do. I mean, I don't think any of us are alone in that. Especially as they're getting older, we want to transition from parent to like coach to the friend. And I think maybe a lot of us do that too soon.
Right. Right. It does. It progresses. You are more of a friend when they're older. You're more of a parent when they're a baby. And that progresses. But our timing is way off.
Yeah,
way off. Okay. Good stuff. How are we doing so far?
Great.
We haven't been too crazy with this, have
No, not
we?
at all.
I've got stories off the air. Just get into a private chat room with me. We'll talk. We'll talk after the show. All right. So here's some good tips and strategies. I'm going to blast through them. Tell me what you hear, what you think, and what you see. I think these is kind of my brainstorm of what I think came to mind when I was thinking. I didn't even do a Google search on this actually, but there's lots of stuff out there. Get knowledgeable. Read. Here's a whole segment. Don't be alone in your own head or arguing with your spouse exclusively to try to figure this out together. See how I did the catchphrase?
I see.
Right?
Right.
Get with friends. Get with your parents. Get with family. Get with books. Get with
mentors.
Videos.
Yeah.
Mentors. Like read, learn, listen. This is hard stuff, and don't think that you're going to figure it out alone at any stage of the development.
Right.
With your kid and your parenting. Okay, blasting through this. Listen, Use less words, Courtney and Chris.
You caught me.
I know, right? Caught my dang self. And avoid too much preaching. This is something that abandonment people, engulfment, abandonment, emotion-focused therapy, check out those things because that's huge in the way that you interact with people. Episode 11 and 101. We'll talk about that at some point, I'm sure. But we tend to be very engaging, very wordy, very, too much. My wife has helped me so much over the years of saying, like, Chris, less is better. I'm still struggling to figure that out. Okay, I said I was going to blast through those, but that's personal, so I had to stay there for a minute.
Perfectly fine.
Get interested in their interests. Your interests are not theirs anymore.
Yeah, big one.
My movie buddy.
Mm-hmm. I'm now a car person. Thank you very much.
Are you?
Yes, I am now. I am now a car person. My son right now is laughing. Yeah, I can hear him laughing. I am now a car person.
That's awesome. Yeah. Get interested in their interests, okay? Get to know their peers, their friends. Have them over dinner. Go hang out with them, whatever, during the 5 minutes that you get interaction. Go know their friends. Know there is a different culture now with weed. What? Right. This is something, I'm going to come back to that one. Yeah, it is a very different reality now that I want parents to understand. Ask them about their plans at your graduation, your curiosity, right? Ask questions. Well, you're going to graduate in like 3 years. Well, that's forever. Dad, what are you talking about? No, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you doing? Ask them their plans. Don't tell them what their plans are. We make that mistake a lot. Text. Learn how to do it, Mom.
Oh, I use the was it GIF or GIF? I don't know. There's this controversy, but
no, it's GIF. I had this
GIF?
conversation with a client today.
Oh, okay, great.
I did Siri.
I use GIFs because that makes them laugh.
Yes,
or memes
absolutely.
or whatever.
Memes. I don't do it. I don't know memes. What's the difference between a GIF and a meme?
Oh, I don't know. That's tech.
Tech guy question. So, go ahead. He's got the mic. He had to answer that one.
Usually the GIF is the actual format itself, where the meme is the subject matter that gets put on it. And a lot of times the GIF would be animated, so you actually have a picture that does motion. Yeah. That's only done by an animated GIF file. You can't do that with other stuff. So memes is more the subject and how it's presented. It's a picture with words. GIF is usually what it gets created, and then it's like it's animated. So that's the difference.
I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Neil, no adult should know that. I'm just kidding. No, that's excellent. Thank you. I now know. We now know. But check out the apps. I'm still resistant. I'm not doing Snapchat and other things. Some of my friends are getting onto that, but you got to learn how to communicate to them. It's different now. Be true to yourself and avoid comparing to what you think other parents are more successful with. Like, be
Busted.
Be true to yourself. Find your own style. It's okay. Huge. Except that your spouse might have a different style than you.
That's not right or wrong, right?
It's okay. Figure out how to let do. Ooh, these tailpipes of the car is what I said on my show notes. Let go. Let do. Dang. I had a huge experience of watching my kid with the tailpipes driving down the car, and oh God, I just went back there, honestly. Like, it is so sad to try to let go, to try to be just at ease. Like, I mean, I'm looking at tailpipes. I'll never forget that moment. Honestly, I was standing in my driveway, and
there they go.
Just poop. Like, wow. You got to learn how to let go. It's tough. Step in hard when danger presents. That's something we forget. Guardrails. Touch them as much as possible. I think you and I had a conversation about that. Was it you or somebody else?
I don't know. I've had that conversation with a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know, I think it was you.
Yeah.
If you're not touching them, hugging them, smacking them, high-fiving them, not beating them. Sorry, it just came to my mind. They'll interpret, something's changed. They don't love me as much. So that's something that I learned. Actually, we probably talked about that with Love and Logic kind of stuff. Express love, express pride in them, and compliment them. Like, find something
right
to compliment them with.
Sometimes hard, but something.
Sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes kids are tough. and you get so negative, realize that's your own fear that you're not seeing what's right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said this on the last show. You correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney. That I mentioned how like my kid told me, he's like, oh, sometimes you just see only my faults. Like what is the deal? It bit me right in the heart. I was like, dude, man.
We've heard that ourselves.
Yeah, it's.
I think most parents have, but
right. How was that list? How did that?
I like it.
How's that play out for you? What's a couple of them stuck out for you, I guess.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, a lot of them stuck out for sure. Touch them as much as possible stuck out because I think we think as they get older that they don't need that, and I don't know where it was, and I can't guarantee any of the facts or anything like that or statistics, but the number was somewhere in the 20s. That every person needs to have some physical contact at least 20 times a day with someone.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we still hug our son before bed, and he's 16.
Okay.
And obviously our daughter, too. She's younger, so that's not as surprising. But
listen, my older son does not want to get hugged. I mean, it's a joke now with him.
Yeah.
I can't.
But even a hand, they said any physical contact.
Exactly.
Yeah, a hand on the shoulder, a fist bump.
And I want to make a point. With that, like I'm not going to force hug Aaron. I'm not going to do that. That's not the thing to do. And by the way, I observed a very uncomfortable moment, and I'm going to share it. It's totally innocuous. It's like 25 years ago as well, so I'm sure that this person has no idea, and I don't know them. But it was in church. I was sitting in church, and there was this teen boy sitting there in front of us, and there was this mom sitting there next to the teen boy, and his mom was perpetually like rubbing his back and whatnot. Oh my, like. It made me terribly uncomfortable. I wanted to reach down, grab her hand, pull it off this poor child, look at her, and say, "Stop!" You can't. Like, you've got to understand that this is a different person.
Right.
This little girl who was your little itty bitty baby girl is not going to sit on your lap, Dad.
Right.
And be all cuddly, huggy-dubby with you. She's 16.
Right.
It changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to understand that these things are changing and change with them and let go of the grief and loss that you talked about.
Yeah, with our 12-year-old, as she's getting older, one of the things that actually both my husband and I do for that quick contact of physical touch is we do her hair. Like even my husband.
Perfect.
Yeah, my husband will do her braid her hair for her. Or I'll braid her hair.
That's
brush her
awesome.
hair or whatever. So, yeah.
Right. So we need to taxi in here and get out of here. I want to really highlight something, though, here at the end. Listen, I know you get discouraged. I've been there. I know you get frustrated. I've been there. I know you get full of shame. Been there. Guilt. Been there. Fear. Right? Discouraged and frustrated. Did I say frustrated? You've got to understand, Mom. You've got to understand, Dad. You've got to understand stepmom. We didn't talk a lot about that. You've got to understand stepdad. Okay? You are probably the most important person in this kid's life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Even if they don't know it.
Even if they don't know it, and even if they don't show it.
Mm-hmm.
So stay with it. It's temporary. It's fun, though. There's a lot of cool things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
So stay with these kids and love them through and love with them. You got this. Right? You got this. Closing thoughts, ma'am?
No, this was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Lots of little nuggets in there.
As I'm saying, we're really figuring this out together because anybody who thinks that I got this all down together, like you have lost your mind. I am figuring it out, okay? Mm-hmm. So stay with those kids, all right? Have a great week, and we will see you next time through a therapist's eyes. Take care.